to believe that it's been a year since the earthquakes in Syria and Turkey. I mean, such a devastating event. And in the next few minutes, catching up with the person who is going to give us a bit of a report on what's been happening in that region. That is Andy Robinson from World Vision. He is New Zealand's country program manager. Now, I'm just going to try and get him back on the line because he was here just a moment ago, but he managed. Here we go. Coming in. Kia ora. Good morning. Come in, Andy. Are you there? Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so sorry for that.
That's okay.
Give you that moment.
You're live on air right now. Thank you so much for agreeing to have a bit of a corridor on the situation. So let's talk about Syria and Turkey, because I know that World Vision is helping out a lot there, and they have actually still a page open that you can do a one-off donation to Turkey and Syria if you go to worldvision.org.nz/donate/campaign/Turkey-Syria, or just look it up. But Andy, thank you for joining me this morning. Let's talk about the recovery process. So how has everything been going 1 year on since this devastating earthquake?
Yeah, I was chatting with a colleague yesterday who described it as two very different responses. So in Turkey, which is a far more well-resourced nation, the recovery is going well, but well. The rebuilding is happening. There's been great international support as well as the local effort. It's probably going to take about 10 years to get Turkey back to where it was, but progress is happening. Unfortunately, that's not the situation in northwest Syria, which has just tragically just got worse since the earthquake. There's now in a grip of a hunger crisis. 90% of Syrians in the earthquake-affected area are just struggling day to day to survive. And unfortunately, the way they can cope, the only way they can cope is by sending children out to work, early marriages. So we're really seeing these terrible protection risks for children really coming to the fore, just as people try to survive.
Yeah, that is absolutely devastating. Did you say 90% of Syrians are now living below the poverty line?
90%, yeah. It's 13 years of civil war with this earthquake on top and a global hunger crisis, and it's just all compounding and just making, I think we see so much of Israel and Gaza on the news, and the situation for Syrians has really become forgotten by so many of our world leaders.
Yeah.
And Syrians are being left to fend for themselves. It is still a very critical time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for New Zealanders, it's hard to kind of fathom that number of people, 800,000 or more than that actually living in tents in northwest Syria, and millions more struggling to get enough to eat each day. It's like the entire population of Auckland basically just battling each day to survive. I think it is hard for us to relate to. So let's talk about how people can help in New Zealand. So when someone donates to World Vision and that money gets sent over to Syria, what are the kinds of things that people are needing over there right now?
Well, we have an amazing team in Syria who just going above and beyond on a day-to-day basis to help. And so any support that we raise in New Zealand goes to support our amazing colleagues delivering a range of essential services. So food at the top, ensuring Syrians have access to safe drinking water. There was a huge cholera outbreak at the same time as the earthquake. So we've been able to monitor that, help communities get access to safe water, keep tracking and identifying if cholera is becoming a concern again. Wrapping protection supports around children. So looking at this issue of early marriage, of children being sent out to beg or labour, and looking at how do we support the whole family so that they're not in a position where their children have to do that. So
yeah, how do you navigate that situation? Because I know that culturally it's something that we don't really think about in New Zealand, the fact that you would actually consider marrying your child off. But what's the kind of approach that you guys use to try and, I guess, educate but also equip people so that that's not the only choice that they have?
Well, I think, everywhere I've been, parents love their children. Most parents love their children and want the best for their children. And really what we're seeing in Syria, it's not that people are arranging these early marriages because they necessarily want that for their daughters. It's because it's the only way they can bring in a dowry to earn a bit of money to feed their family. So if we can, at a community level, encourage communities to support each other, to be aware that early marriage and trafficking are very closely linked, and we don't want any child to be in that circumstance. But also, look, how do we get the community to support these most vulnerable families? How can we support these most vulnerable families to earn a little bit more, to boost their livelihoods so that they're not in that position? And yes, there is an education to that, but it really comes down to parents love their children and want the best, and if they can avoid early marriage because we can put food on their table, that is the choice they will make.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for drawing attention to that. So, in terms of putting food on the table, what kinds of amounts will make a considerable difference to a Syrian family?
Oh, look, we have this great partnership with the World Food Program, which is the greatest supplier of food in our world today. But World Vision is the best deliverer of that food. We get the food from World Food Program, but we can get it to the most vulnerable. And every dollar that we get donated to us, we can multiply that by, I think it's $22 worth of food that we can access from the World Food Program and get it into a community. So look, $1 we get, $22. Anything up and above that just means we can feed more and more people for longer and longer. So we would just welcome that support and those gifts.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, if people would like to find out more information, donate, or show some support, where can people go, Andy?
We'll invite them to visit the website, worldvision.org.nz. We're also available on the end of a phone if anyone wants to give a call. I'm always happy to talk with anyone about our work, so would welcome that as well. And thank you again for Rhema and your partnership and just allowing us to bring attention to this forgotten crisis.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing and updating us on the situation in Turkey and Syria. That was Andy Robinson from World Vision, their New Zealand Country Program Manager. And if you'd like to find out more about what they're doing all over the world, or perhaps donate a one-off donation to Turkey and Syria and help stop things like child marriage, you can go to worldvision.org.nz.
Hey, we really hope you enjoyed that video.
Make sure you like and subscribe and turn your notifications on.
And I hope you enjoy the next one.
Yeah, we'll catch you then.